So what I've done is the same thing as with the chasuble. I glued each of the satin pieces to muslin, and then I laid them down and cut the lining for them. Now the lining here is cut exactly the same size as the piece. For the stole, this is stole, the maniple, again it's lined, and the chalice veil. Now this one, since I already had it upside down with the wrong sides together, the satin turned toward the lining, I just went ahead and pinned it together. This is all this needs is to be sewn. I put 2 pins here and here. This is the this is the back. This side is the side that has the design, so it's the opposite side to that. This is big enough to put my hand through, so this is, I'll leave this open. I'll start sewing here. I'll start sewing here at these 2 pins, sew all the way off the edge. Then I'll come here and sew this way, all the way off the edge. Here to this corner, all the way off the edge. Here to this corner off the edge. Here to these 2 pins and stop. And then I can cut off my corners, turn it out inside out, and I'll top stitch this edge closed, and the chalice veil will be done. That's all there is to the chalice veil. Now, the burst, these are the burst sides that I cut, and this is the burst front and back. It does not need lining. This is self-lining, and this is actually, half of this is the lining and half of it is the main fabric. So this does not need lining. These just get put aside. And the maniple, it needs a few things, and same with the stole. So these are the 2 I'm going to be working on. So the first thing it's going to need is, I neglected to put a cross here in the design. Same with the stole. The stole is difficult because it's 2 pieces, but you need to put a little cross here. You can do it with just satin stitch down and satin stitch across to make a cross. So I need to put a cross on that. And then I need, with the stole, I need to put a cross on it as well. But before I do that, I need to sew the ends together. So this is my stole pieces. I need to put these right sides together, pin these together. Glue really stiffens it up. And so I'm going to sew across this end, 1/2 inch seam allowance, the 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to open it up, press it flat, and put a cross here, the same as I would put a cross here. In future, in the pattern, I've already changed the burst problem. I will put a cross on here so it doesn't need to be done. This is going to have to be 2 crosses that you match up, and because there's 2 different pieces. But ultimately you want 1 cross here right on the seam. So I'll sew this piece, also the chalice veil, and at the same time I'm going to sew the lining for this stole. So I'm going to put the ends of this together and sew these 3 pieces. And then I can put crosses on these 2. And then we're ready to put the lining on. So I'm going to do this sewing here, I'm going to put this aside for a little while until I get the other one, because I like to do the crosses all at one time. And then I'll come back. I also sewed together these are the burst sides that I made, the 3.5 inches by 8 inches on fold. And I sewed across, right sides together across one of the 3.5 inch ends. And I did that with both of these. So now this can be turned right side out and pressed. And it'll be pressed with the fold, with the seam at this end. The seam at one end and the fold at the other. So it'll be pressed. It'll be pressed flat like this. All right, I need to get my iron hot to do that. So I'll do the same with this one. And I put the cross on the maniple here. As I say, in future that'll be on the fabric. You won't have to worry about that. And I put it on the stole here, where the two pieces are sewn together. Now, the next thing, as far as this is concerned, the stole is concerned, is it will be. I also sewed the ends of the lining together, and it's going to go. Lay this out as flat as I can get this. It's going to go right sides together. Make sure you have right sides together. I often do it right to wrong, but anyway. Right sides together, seam to seam. I'm going to press this. I think I'll press it to one side or press it open. Right now I'm just going to pin it so you can understand what's going on. And this glue really stiffens this fabric. So it's nice, but it does, make sure you have a sharp needle in your machine. So I'm just pinning this, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out one side and pin it. Afterwards I'll have to come back and clip some curves, but right now I'm just pinning it. And I'll pin the whole thing. Then I'm going to sew. I'm going to sew both the whole stole, but I need to explain to you how to do that, because a lot of people don't understand the best way to sew a long, this is very long piece of fabric. Once you get it all pinned, we're not concerned with the bottom of it, we're just going to be sewing the sides. Then we'll turn it inside out, or right sides out. And then we'll sew the bottom and put fringe, if you want fringe. And that adds nice weight to it. Alright, so this is one half of it pinned. Now I'll pin the other half, same way. Now, when you sew this, you don't want to start at one end and sew all the way to the other end, because when you get to that end, you're going to find out you've got extra fabric, because your feed dogs are going to constantly move fabric out. And then if you start that end and go back, you're actually going to get a twist in your fabric. The best way to sew is something that's long, really long like this, is to start here at the center fold, and sew all the way out to one end. Start here and sew all the way out to one end. Then come back here and sew the other side all the way out to one end. Then come back here and do the other side the same way. So always starting at the center and always going to the end. Starting, go back to the center, go to the end. So you're going to do that 4 times, center to end. Then you'll find your fabric will come out evenly. And you won't get twists in it. So this is ready to iron, not iron, this is ready to sew with that. The maniple the same way. The maniple isn't so very long. You could do it as one from one end to the other, but then go back to the same end. So for example, sew from here all the way down to here, then come back to here and sew the other side. You don't need to come to the center and go out on this one, because this is not, it's long but not so long that it'll give you those kind of problems. I think I'm backwards with this. Okay. Okay, that looks better. Oh, just going to Oh, I can see a problem right now. I don't have right sides together. I have right and wrong sides together, or right and wrong side together, because the lining doesn't have it right or wrong side. But I need to have this side facing my lining. Okay. So, those are ready to sew. Now this I did sew. So let me show you what's going on with this. I can take these pins out now. And cut off the excess fabric at the corners. And then turn it right side out. Okay. Now I'm going to press this all the way around. I'll press it both sides. Then I will top stitch this part closed or hand stitch it. You can do it either way. I'm not a hand stitcher. Can't see a hand stitch. So I'm going to make sure this is all pulled out and press it from the center out toward the edges. And then this will be done. So I've sewn them and I've turned them in right side out. Now I want to press them, and I find that sometimes that taking a pin, poking it into the table just to hold it out at its maximum width, because sometimes these edges like to roll in. Like it's rolled in here. Just make sure that it's making sure that it's all the way out. And then just hitting it with the iron should press those creases into the sides. This side seems to want to lay all right. Remember to clip your curves. The manifold didn't have any, but the stole has a lot around the neck on both sides. So make sure you clip those before you turn it. Otherwise, you'll end up having to turn it back and clip them. Not fun. Alright, so see, this is turned all the way in. So I'm going to do one half at a time, but I like to go a little over the middle. Alright, so again, I'm using the cordless iron, but I'm only going to be doing small pieces at a time, so this should work fine. It's not like if I have to iron a huge section. Alright, so this is more or less pressed. I'm going to iron it again from this side. As soon as the light goes off on the iron. I have to press this too. Okay, so this is ready now for trim on the end, to trim the ends in and put some trim. And it will also need that elastic across the middle here. So we'll put that aside for now and trim. Not trim, press these. Again, these are the size of the berth, and you want the seam at one end. So I'm going to press that seam in. And fold at the other end. It's good to have a good pressing on the seam and the fold because those are important when you're putting the berth together. So that's that one. Turn right sides out. And press this one. Moved it. Alright, so that this also needs seal. Alright, so this is where we're going to sew it. It's not sewn yet. I'll sew it after I get it pressed, and when I go to sew some other things, I sew everything I can at one time. So again, I'm pulling this out to the away from the edges. I mean, to make the edges. Okay. There are some iron marks here. Got glue on my fingers. All right, so there's a few iron marks, but I'll get those after I get the whole edge done and get rid of all of that. Everything's going to need a good pressing at the end anyway. So. This side too. That's the whole edge. Now I'm going to go back and do this whole thing. Not really well, but just take out most of the. My other one leaks. I used it, but it still leaks. This one, you have to keep stopping and reheating, stopping and reheating. So, I want to get another one. I only get cheap $20 irons because I don't find an iron lasts that long to make it worthwhile to get an expensive iron. I have a mangle that I use for ironing most of the big stuff, so I don't need a really expensive thing. Alright, so this is going to need to be sewn. So we'll put it aside anyway now for now. Now this one is turned right side out, but it's going to need, as you can see, to be flattened. And when I turned it right side out, I really don't suggest you trying to turn the whole thing or even half of it all at one time. Don't reach inside and go all the way to the other end and try to pull it through. I pull about 6 to 8 inches through at a time, and I find that works well for me. And I can do that pretty fast without it knotting up on itself. But that's what I do. You may have your own method. I know there's things to help you turn. I've never found them useful, but if you have trouble getting it, stick a pin in the fold there and just pull it out. Sometimes because on these sides that are clipped, in the areas where it's clipped, you might need to pull it a little bit to get it to pull all the way out. That's the next section. Now I'll just do from there on, it's straight sides, so it'll be a lot easier. So I'll just come back and do one side and then the other side. You don't have to pin it close together when it's straight. definitely running out of water. The other one that's got water in it. So, this is what? just need a good pressing on it. And then we get to start onto the fringe of the verse.